First things first, after we greet the customer, second thing we want to do is go ahead and hook up to the water supply. Most of the time we're going to be double feeding whenever we're using 2 guns on the truck. So I'm going to go ahead and get started and pull it out, hook it up first. Alright, so we've got the water hooked up. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to go around with the digital camera and take pictures of all sides of the building that we're washing, documenting any damage and taking pictures of where all the plants and everything are placed around the house so that we know where to put them back whenever we're finished. Now we started to pull all the flowers and things away from the side of the house. Potted plants are a concern, and any sort of furniture, anything like that, we're going to get pulled back away. The next thing we're doing is we're going to go around and start taping off outlets. I want to start at the bottom. Just make sure that those doors are sealed down well. We're using the vinyl tape. We don't want to use duct tape on these vinyl surfaces or any painted surfaces because we don't want it to pull off any paint whenever we're finished. Just start at the bottom and work all the way to the top and make sure it's nice and sealed off. Alright, so a couple of other things that we want to concern ourselves with taping off besides just the exterior outlets are keyholes. We don't want our solution getting in keyholes and potentially corroding them and making them lock up in the future. So just taking a small piece and just putting it over the keyhole just like that is sufficient. The other thing we want to note is doorbells. So I'm just going to take a couple of pieces here. Obviously we don't want to push in the doorbell when we're taping it off so that it's ringing for the customer the whole time. So try to keep it from pressing down on the button itself. Take a couple of strips, getting it sealed off around the button so that we don't short it out and damage it. What I'm going to do is start pulling out the blue hose. We're going to go start around the back side of the house. We're going to pull all the slack away to the back side before we put our gun on and start the machine. So with this blue reel here, we always keep either 300 to 400 feet on it. For this house, we only need about 200, so Gage is gonna disconnect what we need for the house. And then over here, we've got this block that runs straight from the pressure washer. We could hook up the hose straight to this piece here if we wanted water only, but we're gonna downstream soap onto this house, so he's going to plug in our chemical injector first, and then he's going to plug in the hose into the chemical injector. Now we have the capability of downstreaming soap. This hose right here that's hooked into the chemical injector runs over here. We've got a little poly ball valve. If this is closed like it is right now, then soap can't come through the injector. Once he opens it up, that allows soap to flow through. Okay, so we've got the 2 guns set up. This one, the gray hose, is just set up for water only. The blue hose is set up to apply soap. What we want to do first, before we start applying soap in the area, is wet all the plants down. I'm also going to address this fence here that is not in the job scope. I want to keep this fence very wet before we apply soap in this area so that we don't get soap on it and end up with clean spots. Now that I've wet everything down in the area, I'm good to start applying soap. I'm going to start applying soap to top and bottom, make sure I get it on the gutters, on the soffit, siding. I know that whenever I move around the other side of the house, I'm not going to be able to see this little facet of the siding, so I'm going to make sure I hit that while we're over here. If I had just soaked this siding from this angle right here, I wouldn't have gotten soap on the back side of this downspout. So that's why I need to make sure I change directions, get it in all spots. some of the areas that are the most, have the stains that want to linger the longest are always on the gutter exterior and on the fascia, which is this facet right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go, after I've soaked this whole side, I'm going to give that top part another second coat. So now I've applied soap to this whole side. I've second coated the gutter, fascia, and the soffit area. So what I could do is I could go ahead and continue to move around the house while we let this dwell. Okay, so we've already soaked this side. We're in the middle of letting it dwell. It's still not quite ready to rinse yet. But what I want to do is I want to keep my windows wet. I don't want to let the solution dry on the windows. So even though we're still waiting on this side, I'm gonna spray these windows down. And that is plenty just to keep them wet and keep the solution from drying on the windows. This brown up here, it's turning light brown, that's going to be all ready to rinse, but this black stuff is still dark under here, so it's not ready to rinse yet. When your soap has been sitting on the surface for about 5 to 10 minutes and you're still seeing some areas that look pretty dark, you know that you can reapply in those areas to get them working a little bit better. I'm seeing this fascia up here in this gutter area, especially underneath the gutter, still looks kind of dark, so I'm going to reapply some soap. We've gotten to a point now where all of our stains are looking like a light brown, so I believe they will rinse down. So I'm going to start from the top with the gutters first and get all that debris off and then start working my way down. If we then discover some stains that are still prominent, then we can come back and reapply soap again. You can use a higher pressure nozzle like this fan tip I was using, or if it's long distance, you can even use one of our shooter tips that's a little bit higher pressure to get that stuff off there. But you'll notice when I'm spraying that gutter, my fan is not on the underside of the soffit, it's only on the flat metal surface, so we know I'm not pushing water into some place that I don't want it to be. Great, so now I'm going to switch to a lower pressure nozzle and I'm going to start working on my way down, start with the soffit and then down onto the siding. Notice how when I'm rinsing this wall that I'm not just aimlessly spreading around the wall. I'm systematically starting from the top, making sure my flow of water covers the siding completely, working my way all the way down. I'm going to wet down both sides of this wood fence.
Okay.
Again, the reason I'm doing that is if the soap landed on that dry wood without it being saturated first, it would definitely leave clean spots, clean area. And it still might clean the wood a little bit because we're going to get some diluted soap on there, but it's not going to be a drastic difference, okay? So that's what we don't want. We don't want to end up cleaning something that we didn't intend to. So now I've got my fence watered down. There's some plants over here I'm going to water down too, and then I can soap this side.
All over here, the lot doesn't.
This side we're dealing with more of a peak. I'm going to show you how, again, I'm going to address the side or the soffit and the fascia first. I'll work my way down systematically. Making sure I'm getting full coverage on all that. Work my way down. Pull some things away that may be in our way. How this looks and see if we need to reapply. When I was standing back there and I was soaking the side of the house, I wasn't getting a really good angle on the soffit. So when we come under here, you can see the underside lip outside of the soffit. I see there's black spots. Because of the angle I was soaking it, I wasn't able to get it. So what I need to do is I need to come under the underside and hit this with soap from a little bit different angle, and it'll melt those spots again. Just like this.
Okay, so you hit it with a more direct shot.
So we've reapplied our soap. We know that all the algae and mildew is melted away from the fascia. We're ready to rinse from top to bottom. Since I'm dealing with a little bit more height, but it's not too high, I'm going to put it on the 5-degree fan, which is a little bit tighter fan, and start rinsing top to bottom. So I'm a little bit closer proximity to the wall here, so I don't want to use my 5 degree or my 0. I want to switch to a wider fan because I'm up close. That area's done. I've already rinsed down the top third of this wall. I'm with the fan tip. I'm just going to keep that tip on there.
So we're gonna be worried about that little piece.
All right, so now we're working from the back side of the house where we were up to the front. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna pull all the slack on up to the front of the house. That way we're not fighting and pulling on that hose the whole time. And once we've finished here in the front, we're gonna be ready to wrap it on up.